Hey, what's going on, guys? It is Shadow, bringing you guys round one to the Locust at TGS from last Friday. I ended up facing a Belo Betty. He won dice roll, chose to go second. So I started off with the Three Brothers Bond, and you see I ended up grabbing the Baby Sabo. Belo Betty is actually probably one of the worst matchups for BY. Obviously, they can go wide, trigger bodies out of life, and then use leader ability and just swing big. You do see he is using the stage, the Rev Army stage, which is basically like Full of Lead and Blackbeard. Pitch a card, look for a Rev Army card, and then play it out. Not play it out, but you can use it. So you do see he finds out his Belo Betty, which searched top 5 for a Rev Army. And he ends up finding a dragon, Rush Dragon, 8-9, give 2 Residon to a character. But you do see now he has access to be able to filter through the deck, looking at top 3 cards to find a specific card that he wants. So, very good tool to use in this Belo Betty deck. Never thought about it. But on my 3-down turn, I swing 6 at his life, and he ends up triggering a Sabo, which is a draw 2, and I believe trash 1. Or no, looks like just a draw 2. And I play out the Baby Sabo. After he triggered out that Sabo, it kind of put me on an edge a little bit, because the last thing I need is for him to be able to trigger out bodies from life and potentially just swing wide and big at me, because BY wouldn't be able to take that bombardment very well. And you do see here he plays out the Ivankov, which is the 4 cost. If it is a 7k body, 7k power, it can play out another 4 cost for free. So this is how it cheats out bodies to the field. And you do see pitches a raised max, so look at top 3 for a Rev Army card, and he's probably looking for something to use with this Ivankov. And he finds a 5 cost Ivankov, which is another card that can look at the top 3 cards, I believe, and play out another Rev Army card. I forget the stat lines. I believe it goes off attack stat. But still, something to cheat bodies out. And here he uses his leader ability, and he's going to pitch. It has to be a Rev Army card, which ends up being Lindbergh. And he buffs up his Belo Betty and his Ivankov, which now activates the 4 cost Ivankov, allowing him to play that Karasu for free. Karasu on play will give my leader minus 1000, which is now 4k. So essentially I'm taking all these swings, and later swinging right here, lucky for me, I end up triggering the Egghead Luffy, which I will choose to pop the Karasu. You would think why I'm not choosing the Ivankov instead, but I have another Egghead Luffy in hand that I plan on using this turn, which you do see me play out right here, pop the Ivankov, drawing a card, and then swinging at the Belo Betty. So a full board clear against the Betty, which typically doesn't ever really happen like that. Got lucky for me to have the Egghead Luffy in life, to be able to clear both 4 drops. If not, I for sure would have just swung at the Belo Betty and popped the Ivankov over the Karasu if I didn't see the Egghead Luffy. So just worked out in my favor right there. So now this Belo Betty has to start from scratch. Typically what happens is they want to go wide and then swing, because usually I'm not able to remove 3 bodies in one turn. It just so happens that I triggered the Egghead out of life. You do see that he ends up finding another Ivankov, and he's going to play it out for 4 Don. At this point, it's not worth using your leader ability to pitch a card to play a card, because then you're just going to dwindle your hand size very quickly. So he still has 2 Residon, which he will attach to the Ivankov to be able to play out another body, which is how you would essentially go about using the ability for Ivankov without using lead ability. So attaching the 2 Don does technically meet its requirements, as the Don gives it plus 1000 for each Don. So you do see Justin here is thinking about it. But ultimately that is what he's going to decide to do. So here he is playing out the Ivankov and plays out a Lindbergh, which Lindbergh, when it is at a 7k stat line, can pop a 3k or less. So at this point, my baby Sabo is in a pretty rough spot, because if I don't use it now, there's a high chance that it gets popped with Lindbergh. So at this point, I'm going to pretty much get myself to be able to utilize this Sabo. So I believe I'm going to tap 2 Dawn, play out a Hiyori, and I'm checking to see how much Dawn I need before I get to top end. Oh, I guess not. It looks like I'm playing another Egghead out. Oh, yeah, I am going to do Hiyori. Yeah, so I do Hiyori, grab top life, and I end up grabbing a Kingdom Come, which I wish I grabbed the bottom life at that point. But I do that so I can reveal a Sabo, play a Sabo, and now I'm going to filter out my hand, which essentially getting rid of bricks. So Kuzan, I believe, is going to be a card that is pitched. And potentially either another brick or a 5 cost. Yep, 5 cost Fist Luffy. So I remember I opt to play the Egghead Luffy to pop the Ivankov, because again, I don't want him to flood the board with other 4 costs. And the Hiyori, 2 extra Dawn left. That still allows me to do the Sabo play, because now my leader is a 7k and I have a blocker. So he still needs to invest Dawn if he just wants to swing with his leader, or, you know, utilize his leader buff with her ability by pitching a card. So either way, not gonna really work out how he wants it to. And you do see he pitched the stage to search with the stage to find Karasu, which Karasu is a menace in this matchup if it can stick. Really, the 2 problem cards you want to really address right away in Belo Betty is Karasu and the 4 cost Ivankov, because Karasu, obviously, it's on play and when attacking gives something -1, and if they have 2 Karasus, that's -2k to your leader, making it a 3k leader. In my case, it would drop me back down to 5, but even then, the characters are all buffed by 3k. So here he goes again, establishing another Ivankov, attaching 2 more Dawn and playing out the Karasu, which now lowers my BY leader down to 6k instead of its 7k stat line. And he has the option here to attach a Dawn to BY, or a Dawn to his leader and a Dawn onto Lindbergh, which would require me to give him the block and a counter, or a counter regardless in either way. So he does swing 7, and I decided to just give him a 2k. If he would have swung 6 and 6, it would have, taken 2 cards from my hand, which probably would have been a little better, but leaves the Lindbergh sideways for me to just swing big at it. So I can see why he did not choose to swing with Lindbergh. So I end up starting the turn playing out a Garp, and I'm looking for a Baby Luffy, which I do find, and I'm looking for Baby Luffy just so I can continuously do this Egghead Luffy pop and buff my leader. So me finding this Baby Luffy, I opt to do a Flampe now, which will draw my life and draw a card from the top. So I do +1 card in hand and get myself to be able to awaken with my leader ability. So now with this, I'm going to probably end up pitching a brick, if not another body that I need. So it looks like I did need a Sabo and Trash to be able to do what I'm trying to do. So Egghead Luffy at the top, reveal, play out the little Baby Luffy that I just searched, buffing leader, popping the Ivankov. So pretty much he only gets 1 of these Ivankov abilities each time he's established it, which is good. The consistency of being able to pop is a big thing here for me, which is what's helping me out a lot here. And you do see I reveal a Baby Sabo to reveal the big one that we knew was there, and I end up pitching a Fist Luffy, and there's still 1 more card to pitch. I'm just splitting up my trash to see exactly what I need to pitch so that I know what to pitch and what not to. Ultimately, I do need the babies in hand, but maybe there's another 5 cost I need. But trash is looking fine, so I end up giving him a 4 cost Shirahoshi instead. And then I'm rounding out my turn. You're going to see me here play out the Three Brothers Bond, and I do this to, again, look for pieces that I need, specifically the babies, so I end up grabbing another Baby Luffy. And again, specifically to just continuously pop these 4 cost bodies, because next turn, that's going to be used to pop the Karasu, if he doesn't play another Ivankov. And you see here, I'm considering on whether to swing or not. I am at a 9k leader on his turn, but that still won't stop him from potentially just pitching a card and just attaching a lot of Don on his characters and just swinging big, because he just needs to get through 2 blockers. But I do decide to just swing at his life and take the risk. Luckily for me, there was no trigger. Worst case, like I said, it could have been like a Lindbergh. Then he has 3 5k bodies. Using leader ability to buff up to 8, could split his 10 Don across all of them and, you know, pretty much dwindle my hand completely. Because I do know I have a Kingdom Come and a Moria, so I know for a fact I have 2 bricks in hand right now. But yeah, the Belo Betty's in a pretty rough spot, because typically by this point, you would have already wanted to beat the BY. I know these games typically 6 Don, BY is done, so I've done a pretty decent job of controlling the board as far as with the Egghead Luffys and not using a Moria yet. I do know there's a Moria in my hand right now, so that will be hitting the field very soon. And you see, he did use the stage to search out a card. I believe it was the 5-cost Ivankov. I didn't see. But again, yep, so it was the 5-cost Ivankov, which I believe searches 3. Yep, looking at 3 cards. And it's going to play out a Rev Army card. And again, the whole game plan for Belo Betty is to try to flood the board and then swing wide, which works very well before I'm able to start Awakening, because now he's wasted 5 Don. He can still buff up his characters with leader ability, but you're going to lose a card from hand and still have to attach the rest of the Don to at least get 1 swing in. So Ivankov plays another Lindbergh out, so now he's 4 characters wide. I believe still 5 Don up, and he could potentially play out 1 more 4-cost if he wanted to, or start getting some swings in. And ultimately, he decides to swing with his leader, swinging for 10 at my life. So here, I will have to give him a 2k or a blocker. But the 2k is the most logical reason, or most logical thing to do here, because I'd rather keep the blockers up just in case he does and is able to go wide. So passes the turn to me. Obviously 8 Don turn at this point. Moria is the play to do here. There were 2 things I could have did this turn, and obviously Moria is gonna be 1. But instead of playing out another Sabo, which you know, spoilers, that's what I'm gonna do. I could have potentially did double Baby Luffy and play out double Egghead Luffy and pop Karasu and Lindbergh and, you know, get 2 cards back to hand. But you do see I almost pitched a Kingdom Come instead of the Sabo that I needed in trash. So again, very, very important that you know, take your time and make sure that you're pitching the right cards you need, because it's very punishing if I wouldn't have done that. But again, here we go. Doing the Egghead Luffy, and I'm going to pop Karasu. Karasu is always going to be the target in this situation to draw a card, and then Sabo will reveal itself, which will now allow me to filter out the bricks in hand or finding the pieces I need. So in this instance, I'm pitching the Kuzan, a 3 Brothers Bond that I don't need. And then swinging for 11 at life, and again, no trigger. But yeah, if I established 2 Egghead Luffys that turn, I could have popped, you know, the Karasu and a Lindbergh, drawn 2 cards, still 2 blockers, but this is still a better option, because now, even if he plays out, you know, a rush card, which was the dragon that he searched around, or turn 1 for him, I do have 3 blocks and still 5 cards in hand, I believe, to counter out of a big swing. So you see, he pitched the Kuma to be able to use the stage, and here he's trying to figure out exactly what to use. Ends up finding a Koala, which is a 2k, not a bad trade. A 1k for a 2k, you're up 1k counter. But pretty much this is the turn he's gonna have to put pressure on me. He's gonna have to find a way to get rid of all 3 blockers and hope that he has a trigger in his life. a Karasu trigger, which is a blocker. So you do see, and he's going to take a while here because, again, this is a very crucial turn for the Belo Betty. You could either try to go wide, which is not the option at this point. It's going to come down to actually putting pressure. I do wonder if instead of playing, and you're in a season to play out a Rush Dragon, if just buffing with leader ability and then just swinging with all the Don was a better play. But with 5 cards and the 9k leader, it kind of makes it very difficult to do because after sculpting my hand with, the 3 Sabos, for all you know, I do have a lot of 2Ks in hand. Yeah, so you do see here he is trying to math it out to see exactly what is the best approach at this. And honestly, it is a very rough thing to do. Because you see here, he is pretty much accounting for using leader ability and then buffing with Dawn after that. But doing that really doesn't help him with anything. Because, again, 3 blockers, 9k, 3 swings. I could block all 3 swings. And then, he just slap it all on his leader. But it really won't do much from there. But yeah, this has ultimately come down to very lucky on my part for being able to pop the bodies and keep control of the board. And you do see he does play out the Rush Dragon, and he's deciding what to attach the 2 rested Don to. He was considering Lindbergh, which would have made it a 7k, or the Ivankov, which the Ivankov would put it at an attack stat of 8, because I think it is a 6k attacker. So with the 8 Don on it, or the 2 Don makes it an 8 cost. If he leader buffs it from there, it would be an 11k swing, which is still a lot of pressure. So currently 8k with the Don attached to the Ivankov. You got the Rush Dragon that's going to swing for free with no Don added. And you do see he does declare leader ability, and he's going to choose the Lindbergh in between the Dragon and the Ivankov. So now the Ivankov is going to be swinging for 11k, and the Dragon would be swinging for 12. And he still has 2 active Don to try to figure out exactly where he wants to put it. Ultimately, if he wants to get 3 swings in, the Lindbergh in the middle is going to need at least 1 Don attached to it to be able to swing for 9. Since it's currently 8k, just shy of being able to hit leader. And this is where, again, I state that if you're able to go wide, like establish all 5 bodies with Belo Betty, then swing into the Luffy, BY, you just put it in such a bad spot. But as you see here, it looks like he's deciding to just attach all 3 Don on the Ivankov and swing in for 12. I look at the counter in my hand and I decide whether countering out of this was worth it or not. But I decided just to give him a Sabo. There's no point in trying to counter, pitching my entire hand. Keeping the Sabos would have been great just because it allows me to get more swings in. There's only 4 cards in the hand, so the more attackers I have for the next turn, the better spot I'd be in. But I did decide to give him just the Sabo, and now he has a decision to make whether to swing just 12 with the Dragon and attach it down to Lindbergh to poke for 9, or just attach it to Dragon and get another big swing in. Which is exactly what he's going to do here. I know he's thinking about it, but he's going to attach the Don to the Dragon, and he's going to go in for another 13k swing. And again, this is going to force me to either give him my entire hand or give him a Sabo, which, as you saw in my hand as I was shuffling it, I saw like 2 babies and an Egghead Luffy, which are all 1Ks. So 3 cards right there barely puts me at 11k. So I do draw, and at this point I'm trying to figure out exactly what to do, and I just opt to swing 11 with the Moria because I figure if I could swing into this and he doesn't trigger anything, we should be good. Worst case is if it's a cross, so I do leader ability, Egghead Luffy pops it, and then we can keep going with life. He ends up countering out of it, and then it just shows me I can go for game here, and I end up doing that, swinging with Sabo, and then all with leader. But if you guys like the content, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment down below what you guys thought, and I'll catch you on the next one.